Hey everyone, welcome to Unleash Your Life Force. I'm your host, Dr. Natasha Nelson. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm thrilled that we are going to have a deep dive discussion about the legs and the emotional and spiritual meaning of physical illness, injuries, or dis-ease that shows up in the legs. So, if you've been listening, if you're new to the podcast, welcome. So, welcome. If you've been listening, I've been loving this topic, this series, which is my favorite thing to talk about, which is the somatic healing. And what that is it's really just understanding the spiritual and the emotional layer of an injury, an illness, pain, why the body is getting your attention. So, yes, there's the physical issues, there's nutrition issues, chemical issues. That is not what we're going to talk about today. So, I refer you to your primary care provider. This is not a substitute. That disclaimer. Anyways, so I want you to think about, have you ever moved in a direction or moved towards your goals, taking action steps and having a plan, only to find yourself, could be days, could be years later, feeling like you're on the wrong path or that you are going in the wrong direction? And then looking around wondering, like, how did I end up here? If you're honest, there were signs along the way that maybe you didn't know how to interpret them. You didn't understand them. Maybe you just didn't like what you were seeing and didn't want to see them. So you ignored them. And so not paying attention to the signs when they're small, your soul says, don't worry, I will get you to course correct eventually, and I'll make the signs and signals louder and louder until you finally pay attention and stop overlooking and pretending like the symptoms and signals and signs aren't there. So that's what we're going to highlight today, talking about the legs, the thigh, the calf. I separated the episodes, these first 4 episodes, from the feet and the knees, because there's so much going on that I thought it was important to break them down. So last week was on the knees. Before that, it was ankles and feet. Next week, I'll talk more about the hips. Today, it's really just the leg, your legs, like the muscles of the legs, the meaty part of your legs, and what they represent. So I want you to think about some of the common sayings that are associated with the leg that we use, that we may not really understand what's below the surface and the meaning. So the common one, of course, is, break a leg. To wish somebody luck before a performance. You can pull someone's leg, which is to tease them by telling them something that's not factually correct. It's a bit of an untruth, but it's a lie, yes, but it's in a friendly way. There's the saying that it'll cost an arm and a leg, which is something just more expensive than your budget allows. How about this one? To have a leg to stand on. And that's really about having a valid reason or evidence to support the claim or to support your argument. But really it comes down to, well, what's the supporting evidence that you are standing on? Like, what's the foundation? What's the fundamentals the core values that you are standing on to fight for your argument. How about being on your last leg, to be very tired, to feel weak, that something is near the end of its usefulness, the end of its life, not necessarily a person's life, but the end of it's complete, something's done. How about to have a leg up or give somebody a leg up, which is to help somebody progress or improve, whether it's their situation or their environment or in a competitive way, to give them an edge, to give somebody a leg up. It means it's an assist, it's a help, it's an assist. But to get a leg up, but to take a leg up can also be part of, you're getting an advantage. Now, it doesn't mean it's an unfair advantage, but it could be an unfair advantage. And of course, we all put our pants on one leg at a time, which means ultimately, no matter who you are, where you are, your standing, your, title, at the root, we're all the same. And this one, a little obscure, but maybe you've heard it, a lie has no legs without roots, which comes down to a lie cannot grow and be sustained over the long term if it's not rooted in a universal truth. It will not be able to grow. It will not withstand an unstable foundation. There's other ones, give up a leg of your journey, to run away with it, get a leg in the door. But I just picked some of the first ones that were more interesting and more common and more of what we were going to be talking about. So, I think about this lesson and our soul's lesson and my experience with it. When I first started my business, so, I'm a chiropractor by trade and ran my own business and wellness center and doing all of it, the doctor, the aunt, all of it. I was in charge of it, running it. And as the business owner, I separate. There's the patient time, loved everything, still do. It's why I'm back in having an office. I love being with patients. I love being with clients. I love that connection and sharing and teaching and healing. The business of it, there's the business owner. And there are times where the business owner in me was a tyrant, very critical, because I had to be in order to function, to operate, to have some type of success. There were times where the fight was forcing myself to do the things that I didn't want to do. There were times where I felt like I had to overpower and make myself do the things I don't want to do, which is life. Like we don't get to just do the things that are fun and good, but there's a place where the hyper critic in me would be very critical, almost tyrannical, like a tyrant in there, forcing me to go even when I couldn't go anymore or do anymore. And then ultimately, when things collapsed and things were falling apart, there was learning how to get back up. And that's the part that I want to talk about a little bit today, about the legs. Because the legs have to do with being able to get back up after we fall. Has to do with what it means to be successful versus failure. What is grit and resilience? and what it means to persevere. All of those are terms that we use. We know what they mean, but it's being able to understand the layers and really help you understand what your body is trying to get you to pay attention to. And by body, I actually mean it's your soul. Your soul is going to talk to you through your body, through the symptoms, through pain, through injuries. So in the leg, one of the most common issues that people feel, they end up in my office as the chiropractic office, is sciatica, which is numbness and tingling in the back of the leg. In the legs, we can feel issues of the IT band that goes along the side, where it can feel really tight. It can feel like it's like pulsating, it's tight. The legs can feel heavy, also feel very weak, also can feel just unable to continue going in the direction that they're going. You know, the legs, you know, the femur, which is the thigh bone, it's the strongest bone in the body. You have the sartorius muscle, which is the longest muscle in the body. They are meant to propel us forward just as much as they are meant to stabilize and help us stand. Our legs are designed to run as much as they are designed to play, to jump. They're designed to dance and move. And the legs allow us to move in every direction. Yes, forward and backwards and side to side, and all the movements and degrees in between. The full 360, your legs are meant to take you. So I want you to think about some of the emotions that are tied into the leg when your leg is feeling compromised. Because sometimes a symptom is not pain, but it's just a heaviness. It can be numbness and tingling, can be twitchy, can be restless. So some of the emotions that correspond with the leg can be feeling incompetent. If you're feeling indecisive, you feel lack of direction. Maybe you feel bored and stagnant. Maybe a lack of purpose and unfulfilled. Maybe you're feeling insecure. Maybe it's frustration. And maybe it's a lack of playfulness. So I want to break some of those down. I won't go into all of them into detail. Well, I want to break some of them down. Specifically, we'll start with boredom. Because boredom, it's your legs, the sign that you are not moving. You're not moving in the direction with purpose, with creativity, something that's in alignment to who you are. Boredom shows up when you lack a creative solution to whatever it is that's going on that you don't like. It's not knowing what to do, and it's not knowing how to solve it. Anytime that there's a situation, we'll call it a problem, a challenge, an issue. Sometimes we need a creative solution that's different than what we've been doing or what we're used to doing, because if that was the right solution, then doing it would work. But if it doesn't work and we're doing the same thing over and over and over, our soul is going to finally say, enough. I'm going to make you stop and come up with a new idea, a new creative solution. So boredom can show up when we don't know what to do. We don't know what else to do. But even deeper, it's we feel resigned, like we've given up because we don't know what to do or how to solve it. And so we become disconnected from our sense of purpose. We are disconnected from who we are, from what we're doing, from why we're doing it. And we can feel bored. You know, you hear different things about boredom of trying to, you see so often, you see it in kids, you see it in adults, finding ways to try to avoid being bored, because feeling bored, let's be honest, it sucks. It just doesn't feel good. But if we sit long enough in the boredom, we'll be forced to come up with something creative. Well, it doesn't have to be a big new thing in life, but a creative idea, creative solution, a creative game, a creative activity. So it's really the lack of creativity that keeps boredom going and going and going, where your soul finally says, well, I'm going to get your attention to find something new to do. So your legs will feel it. Another emotion tied in with the legs is going to be frustration. Frustration shows up when there's an unresolved issue that we don't know how to solve. So slightly different from boredom, because boredom just means you haven't come up with a creative idea. Frustration is you've come up with ideas and you're trying them, but they're not working. And you're trying something else and it's not working. You could be trying different things and it doesn't seem to be working. So you can feel stuck because you don't know what direction to go in. You feel like you've tried multiple directions and they're not really getting you anywhere. This is where frustration can be about looking beyond your normal creative sources, looking beyond what you normally do. Frustration can let you know that maybe you're doing too many things or doing two or more things that are actually they're competing against each other. So you're trying to go too fast or too slow. And your soul is saying, hey, if you're going too fast, slow down, because maybe you don't need a new creative solution. Maybe you need to go back and revisit what you've done because you've missed some of the steps. Maybe you've missed a creative element. So frustration can feel like we're not getting where we want to go fast enough. And our soul is saying, I know, I need you to slow down, reevaluate the steps, and see what may have been missed, what may have been skipped. Or sometimes you realize, it sounded good, it seemed to be good, but now you have new information that's letting you know it's not the best option. So I want you to think about how that shows up in the legs when they're, you can feel antsy and twitchy. You want them to go, but pain makes you slow down. When the back of the legs feel really tight, where the energy is not flowing, it's stagnant. Sometimes it could be that your legs are telling you, It's time to move in a different direction. You might actually know what that new direction is. You just don't like it. It scares you, and that's human nature. Change is scary. Although when it's change that we want and we choose, we're like, hey, of course we want it. But it can still feel overwhelming or scary. And that ties in with the third emotion with the legs, which is failure. That applies to a variety of areas, but how it shows up for the legs is failure can feel so overwhelming that when we don't succeed at something, or there's failure, in quotes, failure, it can feel hard to get back up and try again. And failure is really, we take an action and we see the outcome, and it's not the outcome that we wanted. It's not really failure. It's just, okay, it's learning. There's a lesson. It's not even that it's a mistake. It's just, it's a lesson learned. Lesson to learn, if you're evaluating. But it's the judgment, thinking something's a mistake, that it should not have been that way, or that should not have been the outcome. It's the judgment that you have about the outcome or the result that is the mind thinking that it's a failure. When you look at an outcome and you think that it's wrong or that it's bad, that it shouldn't have happened that way, well, how do you know? I know you didn't like it, but that's the outcome. It's kind of like math sometimes. You don't have to like that 2 + 2 is 4. That's the outcome. That's it is. That's the way it is. That's the way the numbers add up. So how does that relate with the body, the legs? Think about if you are reevaluating the direction you are going. Is there an area where you feel that maybe your soul is trying to get your attention that something is out of balance? You have too much weight on one side, not the other. It's too heavy on one area, not balanced in another area of your life. Sometimes that can be the actions that you're taking and how much energy you're spending. It could also be the foundation cores and your foundation principles that you are standing on, but maybe you're standing on something too heavily, it's too weighted, it's too rigid, it's too much, where you need to be able to have a little bit, not compromising your values. That is not at all what I'm saying. It's about being able to recognize that maybe the value that you are standing on needs to have more balance. Like there's something missing where you're not standing fully grounded in it. Sometimes that can be where there's a lack of clarity or a lack of purpose, the lack of intention. So it's not that there's anything, it's not the core value or the principle that's being challenged. It's your lack of clarity about why that value is important to you, why it matters to you. Sometimes the foundation needs to be shaken just to see if it's strong. I mean, think about I live in California and we have earthquakes. And the thing about earthquakes is they will show up when they feel like it. And the earthquakes are not wrong. They're not bad. That's nature. It will highlight which structures and which foundations are not strong and not built properly. So failure and mistakes, as we call them, when they show up, Maybe the outcomes are just there to let you know, hey, where are the structures and the foundations that you are standing on? Where do they need to be strengthened? Where do your intentions need to be reevaluated? What's the purpose? Because ultimately, if you are going to rebuild, you want to make sure that you are rebuilding on solid foundation, solid ground. Your legs are meant to be solid because your ability to get up, to get back up after you fall, and to continue moving forward, whether you are taking baby steps and walking or running or dancing, you need your legs to propel you forward. However you are moving, when something makes you slow down, your soul is saying it's time to revisit, reevaluate, reinforce what may have been a weakness, something that you didn't even see, or you didn't notice, or you didn't know what you didn't know. I think about that when, I had the dissolution of my marriage, the dissolution of my practice. There were so many things that I didn't know that I was learning along the way, but I was moving so fast and so much. And, I talked about the tyrant, the critical tyrant in my mind, forcing me to keep going, forcing me to do more, do more, do more. You have to, you have to. And there was a point where my soul was like, nope. And I couldn't say no. So my body said no for me. And when things fell apart, there was a time to just allow it to fall apart. And then there was the time to get back up. And I had to reevaluate my foundation of what I was doing and how I was doing it. The why for me of taking care of people didn't change, but how I was going about the balance in my life, balancing being a mother and balancing who I was, that needed to be reevaluated because it's the burnout that caused the collapse. Forcing myself to continue when I just didn't have it in me because I was burning so much energy in so many ways and not creating things that were sustainable. So that's what I want you to think about the legs and about leg pain, sciatic pain, when the legs feel heavy or numb and tired and restless. Think about your foundations. Think about what it means where is an area in your life that we'll say failure and mistakes in quotes because the outcome wasn't what you wanted. How could you get back up and start over, taking the lessons that you learned along the way with you? So that's the idea of forcing yourself to do something versus having the power to get up and start over, and the grit and the resilience and perseverance. There's a power in that. And if you use that power to your advantage, it's getting back up, learning the lessons, reevaluating, dusting yourself off, giving your legs a new energy, revival of energy. Like there's a flow to those big muscles and the biggest bone in the body. And then you get up and you take a step forward again. I made a list. There were times where I just wasn't getting back up. So I sat and made a list of all the mistakes and failures of my business the first time around. And it was eye-opening. And it was a lot of lessons to learn, a lot of crying. But a lot of it was the realization that I did the best that I knew how to do at the time, and that taking that list and moving forward, now going back into business, doing it differently. And so I'll share all there's no shame in them. There's no blame. There's no embarrassment. That's part of what life is. It's part of being a business owner and an entrepreneur and a dreamer and an athlete and a mother and all these things. And so, I started a video, I think, once before. It may still be there. If not, I'm actually going to create a separate video just listing all my biggest failures and mistakes and lessons that I learned, and share them, because, hey, if it helped me, maybe there's something in there that can help you. So that's what the legs and our calves and our thighs have to share. That's the language that the body is using. Our soul is saying, hey, pay attention. So I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear what resonates with this, your thoughts, any ideas. I love hearing from you and appreciate your emails, your comments, just staying connected. So next time I'll talk more specifically on just the hips, because there's a lot of energy in that, but it was slightly different from the leg. And you can always go back and listen to about the knees and the ankles and the feet in the previous episodes. So I hope that this was helpful. I hope that you got something from it to make you go, oh, there's something else I can look at or think about to help get the healing energy flowing and moving, and allow your body the chance to recover and heal and get stronger as you're moving into whatever the next direction that you are moving in. So, as always, I like to say, you have to feel your feelings, or your body will feel them for you. So that's everything about somatic healing. It's what Unleash Your Life Force podcast is about. It's what my entire practice as a chiropractor, as a coach, that's what I do. So I'm your host, Dr. Natasha Nelson. Make sure you subscribe. Feel free to share. Leave me comments. I want to know how this lands for you. All right. I'll see you next time. Bye.